Welcome to Messy Disciples. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Pastor Bob. This is Gio, and we're excited for you to be a part of the conversation. And that's what these are. These are just conversations that started because Zoom became a way of life, and we thought what we were talking about might be something that could help people along the way.
So this one started in a conversation that I was having. Where I'm in the church's men's group, and so we, periodically they'll meet. We were doing Zooms for a while, and this one came from a really good friend of mine who's also part of the faith community. And the idea of being present was what we were talking about, and it started with a conversation because of we were making references to, I think it's not only is it a book, I believe it's a series or like a class called Whisper. And
yeah.
where the concept you learn throughout the book is that God speaks to you in the quietest of times, and his voice is a whisper. It's not a loud one, so you really got to listen. It started there, the conversation started there, and then it went, my buddy Ryan, then it went to him really trying to apply that quietness to his life and be present. And he said, I've always had, Gio, I said, I've always had a problem, a challenge with, being present, remaining present. And it really got me thinking, one of the luxuries that I give myself from time to time is the ability to be so present that I actually forget time for a little bit. Like I'll go a couple days in a row and I won't really know, is it October 19th, 20th? I don't know. And it's because I'm so present in those moments that time really doesn't matter. And so I started giving it more thought, and I was thinking that those times that it's happened, and the best times to really do that is your family time, or even if you're able to take a vacation nowadays, a family vacation is another great time. But it kind of got me thinking, Pastor Bob, and I wanted to throw the idea at you. But the art of being present, what does the Bible and Jesus teach us about being present? How important is it, in how to, where do we see it in the Bible, and how can we practice it? How do we bring it to life?
I would say that the greatest portion of the Bible is trying to get us to realize God's gracious presence here with us while we're on earth. The Bible starts with the presence of God in creation, and then from there we mess it up. We push God away. We become enemies of God. And the rest of the Bible's story is God pushing into our lives, into our human history, into the human story. And he's either pushing in moments of correction or pushing in moments of care. And so it's this constant narrative about the presence of God, either in correction or care in the life of his people. And you could do the whole Bible story just this way, but because I want to spare us on the time, I would say that there is two really good examples. One is the Israelites when they were in slavery. They were wondering, where is God? And God shows up. And his nearer presence corrected the Egyptians for believing that Yahweh God was inferior and their gods were greater. It also corrected the slaves' understanding that God didn't care about them and was disinterested in them and wouldn't save. And then the great care that he had in delivering his people from slavery into the promised land. That's the first big story. But even that's just a precursor for the best story ever, which is that God became present with us in the person of Jesus Christ.
Needed to
God,
be here. Needed to be here with us. Yeah. What a better way to be present.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Think about it. God, in order to be present with humanity, allowed himself to be born as an infant. God allowed himself, in his desire to be present with us, allowed himself to be carried in the arms of Mother Mary, to be present in the mundane lives. I got to believe that Jesus was was just having fun with his disciples as well. He was joking with them. He was cracking jokes with them. Then he was literally
He was human.
hanging out with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the best story of all, is that God was present with us at every point in life where it didn't get at us. And then he did one better. He said, I'm going to be present with you in your darkest hour, which is death itself. And I'm going to be present in this way. I'm going to be there in your death, taking you from death to eternal life, so you can be present with me eternally in heaven. I mean, boom, mind blown. Like the whole Bible's about presence, right?
It's all about presence. Yeah.
All about presence. And so,
yeah. Wow, that's great, Pastor Bob.
I want to share a story, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
It took me a long time to learn about the power of presence, because I thought that a quantity of being present with people was the same thing as being present with them in a qualitative way. And I thought that I was doing good as a pastor when I was making a lot of calls, but really short period of time calls, and just like getting it done calls, like, hey, good to see you calls, instead of qualitative calls. And it really changed for me when I met a lady named Shirley Jones. Shirley Jones was the most wild, cantankerous little old lady I'd ever met. And I've met a lot of little old ladies.
Cantankerous.
She was cantankerous, man. But I met her when she was in a rehab hospital. And I was the brand new pastor, and my friend who was the associate pastor was taking me around, and he was showing me everybody, where everybody was at. When we walked in the door, the first thing she said was, "Took you long enough to get here." The first thing she did was scold me and Dan for not seeing her. Now, I had never met her before in my life, so like our introduction was a scold. But what I realized as I was meeting with her, because Dan says, listen, she'll expect you to visit her every single day. And I thought to myself, oh, that's really sad. That really breaks my heart, But what I found out when I was meeting with her is that the reason why she was so upset is because people would just visit her and say hi and leave. Nobody was listening to her. Nobody was valuing her by their presence that kind of way. And so I kept on listening. As I was visiting with her, I kept on listening for something, some angle I could use, right? And towards the end of the conversation, because it had to end, she says, listen, I've done so much for those people at church, and she's scolding me about everybody at church, and she says, and nobody will do so much as even bring me a peanut butter sandwich. And I went, ah. And I said, well, Shirley, I'm really sorry. And I visited her the next day. And guess what I brought with me?
Uncrustable.
I brought her, well, that's funny you should say that. I brought her a peanut butter sandwich. I said, Shirley, I just want you to know that I heard you, and that I won't be able to be around all the time, but I want you to know that you're important. It's so important that I made you one of these.
Oh.
And I handed her a peanut butter sandwich.
Good on you.
Now, she immediately scolded me for it having crust. Which I didn't care. But she loved it. She had such a blast with that idea.
That's great.
She felt so valued in that moment, and she felt so heard that I didn't visit her for a month. And she didn't even know.
Oh, wow.
The next time I saw her, guess what I brought with me?
Another peanut butter sandwich with no crust.
Gio, are you still there?
Yeah, a peanut butter sandwich with no crust.
Oh, man.
A peanut butter sandwich with no crust.
That's right. I brought a peanut butter sandwich with no crust. And it's like we picked up just where we left off. You see, she didn't notice the passage of time. What affected her was what happened when we were present together. And that's the key to presence, is working on quality over quantity. And ever since that day, she would call me the peanut butter pastor.
That's awesome. Probably the best.
She told all her friends about
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to be present with people, I would say you got to peanut butter sandwich them.
Yeah. Was it grape jelly or strawberry? What would you use?
I'm a strawberry jelly kind of guy because
I like that. I like that. I love a good strawberry jelly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor Bob, for sharing that story with us and for giving us a little bit more and showing us the importance of being present, so much so that Jesus himself decided that the best way to be present was to come down and be one of us and see, see what he could teach us about being human. Great one-off. And just for everybody that's been watching us, I want you to know that Pastor Bob had no preparation on that one. That was all completely off the cuff. He had no idea I was going to ask him that question. I threw him a curve, and he stepped to the plate and he hammered it out with a big hashtag peanut butter sandwich. And I just love it. I love it. I love that you can be so present in the topic for us and for your audience that you can easily draw something as great as that out. So kudos to you, and happy Pastors Month, Pastors Appreciation Month to you, Pastor Bob. Everybody should be wishing all your pastors happy Pastor Appreciation Month. Thanks everybody for coming and visiting us. Watch some of our other videos and pass them along if you think anybody can use what we're given.
Thanks for watching today. It's been a great conversation. We'd love for you to be a part of the conversation, so go ahead and click subscribe. And if you hit the notification bar, it'll let you know when new videos are coming out, which is really important because all of our videos are about new and current events that are happening. If you have any questions, go ahead and contact me via email. It's great to have you a part of the conversation. Thanks for joining us. Bye.